Alright, let's finish up episode 4. We have one more clip left. So the first thing I want to talk about is this song. It's called Dubi Sandas. I think that's how you say it. My pronunciation was probably really off. These lyrics are absolutely perfect. I'm not sure if the translations are absolutely perfect, but this is what I could find. You are different, you don't listen to me. You know I cannot be silent as good as you, I think I mean as well as you. Because you don't tell me everything. I ask you again and you say nothing. But I can see something in your face and I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is and it drives me insane, and I don't believe you that there is nothing. I wonder if you're scared, or is there somebody else? Do you realize how little you laugh? This entire song is absolutely perfect because this is the breaking point of Sarah and Mateo's relationship. This is it. Finally. Thank God. And all of these lyrics about this person in the song wondering about their significant other seeming distant and saying like, you don't even laugh anymore, is there somebody else? This is all what's probably going through Sarah's head, or what should be going through Sarah's head based on how Mateo has been acting with her. So this is a really good way to start this clip. He slumps down into that chair. Dude, he says, I can't be bothered to do this all on my own. Like, he is really just not holding anything back at this point. He wasn't particularly fantastic at playing the act before, but now he just doesn't care. Like, he's gonna say, I'm on my own, when Sarah is right there. He doesn't even acknowledge her existence, which could be like subconscious. Maybe he doesn't even realize that that's what he said, but still. Like, she's right there, dude. And this disinterest continues even more when Sarah wants to get on his shoulders. And he just like does not want to touch her. He doesn't want her to touch him either. Once again, their bodies are not in sync. I talked about this in the last video, about how every time they touch, it just feels weird and awkward. Their bodies just don't know how to be in sync with one another. Saved by David and Leonie. Nice little handshake, even though they literally almost kissed a week ago. Yeah, and seeing David just makes it even worse. All of that disinterest turns into just anger. Girl, he's been dismissive the past, like, 4 weeks. So she's called him out on his behavior before, but now Mateo fights back. He doesn't just say what she wants him to say. He just lets it out. He's so fucking done. So done. He's over his limit. He saw David, and now his mind is just swimming with like everything that happened last week, swimming with all of these true feelings, and he just, no. He's not doing it anymore. Go get your girl. Go get her. Go get her. Another example of Mateo throwing something. This is something that he does when he doesn't know how to express what he's feeling. Mateo, while he is, I think, emotionally mature, he's not the best at verbalizing what he's thinking. And sometimes when he does it, it comes out clumsy or overly harsh. I don't know, he's just a little bit stunted when it comes to verbally expressing himself, especially in like arguments when everything's happening really fast and he doesn't have time to kind of sit down and think about what he should be saying. So I think him throwing the cups is just a way for him to non-verbally express all of this stuff that's inside of him. And he did it before in the panic attack scene. He's going to continue to do it throughout the season as well when he feels frustrated.
Okay.
So this is another time when David sees Mateo in crisis / right after a crisis, and just like after the neon party, the first thing and the only thing David says is everything okay? He once again just wants to give Mateo the space to collect himself. And just like after the neon party, Mateo opens up again. He doesn't bother to lie like he does to pretty much everyone else. Yeah, so David doesn't push any further. He just lets Mateo take the lead, which he does. Do you want to run away? That's what he says. I've checked the translation for other people who have translated this clip, not just like this specific video that I found. And I also went to the Druck YouTube page and watched this episode, I watched this part with the German subtitles on, and I put those German subtitles into Google Translate, and it also says, "Do you want to run away?" The reason why I wanted to make sure that that is the correct translation is because him specifically using that phrase of running away, I think is so important. Because in their very first conversation, they talked about running away. They have a thing about running away. They're both drawn to this idea of escaping. And that's one of the initial things that they bond over. So the fact that Matteo specifically says those words, I'm not a native German speaker, but I'm pretty sure that's what it translates to. That's perfect. And I think a more natural thing to say, at least in English, would be, "Do you want to get out of here?" rather than, "Do you want to run away?" So that's why I think it's important that they had him say those specific words. And this is Matteo being active again. He's been active so many times in this relationship. He wants this. Whereas with Sarah, he's always passive. He just lets everything happen around him. And even with his other relationships, he just kind of lets things happen. He's not an active participant in his life unless it comes to David. And then possibly my favorite song in this season. I love it so much. First of all, it sounds like the perfect indie song. Of course they're riding their bikes through the city to this song. But it doesn't sound cheesy to me in that way. It's genuinely a really good song. It just fits so well. These lyrics, I'm about to read pretty much every single lyric to this song because they all fit so well. I cannot believe that they managed to find a song that is so perfect. So it's called Clean Eyes by SYML, and a little background on it is that the songwriter wrote it about his wife, who he says is a lot more optimistic than he is, and she sees the world in a lighter way. She's always trying to see the good in things, whereas he is more of a cynic. So keep that in mind as I read literally all of the lyrics. Sorry in advance. Picture yourself in a room full of broken glass. Blood on the pieces you can't put back. A little white light in a sea gone black. My head is the room, and the room's full of broken glass. Clean eyes, breaking my heart in all the right ways, and no, I don't mind. Clean eyes, breaking my heart and breaking my chains, and I don't know why. Clean eyes. I'm a cynic. I told you I fear what I don't believe. I don't know what this is, but this is a different beast. I checked the lock on the door 3 times. Can't put my faith in what I can't describe. I'm a cynic, I told you, I don't believe. Take me home when I lost myself. Love me better than I love myself. I think this song is absolutely about how Matteo's perspective of the world changes when he's around David. We've seen his demeanor change. When he gets the text at the beginning of the episode, he just gets really happy and the super cheesy whistling song plays. And I think using this song specifically and cutting to this super happy montage of them laughing and riding their bikes with this indie sounding song playing shows you that not only does his demeanor change, but his perspective shifts. He sees the world a little bit lighter. Everything seems more manageable. He is the most himself when he is around David, and that makes him feel free. That makes everything around him just seem a little bit easier. I am absolutely not saying that David fixes Matteo, or that he saves Matteo, or that Matteo's mental illnesses disappear when he's around David. I am not saying that. There's evidence later in the season that refutes that. I'm just saying that things are just a little bit easier to handle. David is the one who has the clean eyes in this relationship, in Matteo's perspective, obviously, and Matteo is the cynic. And that's just because we're in Matteo's perspective. I'm sure in David's mind it's switched, but because this is Matteo's season, Matteo's POV, David is the one who is letting Matteo see through these clean eyes, while Matteo is the cynic who can actually start to see things in a lighter way because of David. And I think that David being the one who kind of sees the world in rose-tinted glasses, in Matteo's perspective once again, makes sense because he is a cinephile and he romanticizes the idea of running away and of, we're going to see now, exploring abandoned places, which seems to kind of contrast Mateo's more jaded, tired, stoner dude aesthetic. And I think we do learn later that Mateo is just as romantic as David is, but he hasn't allowed himself to really feel that and act upon that with anyone thus far. So that side of him has kind of been just like stamped down. But with every conversation with David and with everything that they do together, it's kind of being brought out a little bit more. David is kind of cultivating that side of Mateo that has been left dormant for so long. And if you needed any more evidence about Mateo being a cynic, or at least fitting the cynic role of the song, we literally just saw a scene of him criticizing Amita's religious beliefs. So there you go. I love the small detail of David like standing up on his bike and taking the lead, and Mateo can like barely keep up. That's such a nice detail. Like, if they hadn't done that, maybe we wouldn't have picked up on it, but the fact that they did just makes it seem even more real. It just gives more depth to their characters. Like, yeah, of course David would be faster on the bike and be more athletic because he is more athletic, and Mateo smokes weed like every day. And then this is showing again that David is the athletic one. But I think this also is the beginning of David taking the reins right after the neon party in the kitchen scene. I talked about how David picks up on the fact that Mateo has kind of gone nonverbal and that he's not being very expressive and that he went through some shit. So David leads the conversation. He's the one who says anything. He gives Mateo plenty of time to say what he needs to say. He physically turns his body to show that he's supporting Mateo. He instinctively just kind of knows what to do when Mateo pulls back. And I think it happens, no, I don't think, I know that it happens here too. And this is just the very, very, very beginning. David goes over the fence first and he challenges Mateo. He dares him. The way that he's looking at him right now is a challenge. And it's the first step of David taking the lead in this situation. And Mateo steps up to the challenge. I think the fence is also just kind of pretty obvious symbolism of having to cross a line with David, and their relationship has crossed a line. From this point onward, there is literally no way that they will get out of this scene without kissing. That's what I think it symbolizes to me. He crossed that line, he crossed that barrier. It takes some effort, it takes some doing on his part to get over the fence, but he doesn't, and now he is in. He is in it to win it. Oh, gross. I had so much coffee, so just really excited. Another example of David taking the lead is that he's the one who literally took Mateo here. It was his idea to go here. This is a place that he's been wanting to check out for a while, and he's the one who led Mateo here. And I think that's so sweet. He always planned on scoping this place out and exploring it by himself, but he decided, you know what? I'm gonna take my crush here, and I'm probably gonna try to kiss him, and I'm gonna make it ours. I'm not just gonna make it mine. I'm gonna bear this part of my soul to this person. And I think that's so brave for David, because he has pulled back so many times, but now, not only is he taking the lead and he's bringing Mateo to this place, he's bringing Mateo to a place that he has a connection with. That's intimate, right? That's really intimate. We go from David barely opening up at all in their first conversation to taking Mateo to a place where he probably only envisioned going alone. But now he's like, you know what? I'm gonna let this guy in. He's special. There's something about him. I'm gonna let him in. I'm not like the biggest fan of this song on its own, but in the context of this clip and how it's used, I absolutely love it. It's called Just For Us Part 2 by Benny Blanco. It kind of sounds like church music to me, like electronic, modern, vocoded church music. Like, listen, okay, listen. Hear me out. If instead of electronic vocals, it was an organ, that sounds like church music, right? They sound kind of heavenly and peaceful, but also expectant, if that makes sense. It sounds like they're building up to something grandiose and something beautiful that works perfectly for what's going to happen in the rest of this clip.